For the Glory is proudly powered by Mullaney Dairies. Hello and welcome to another episode of For the Glory, an athlete empowerment production series brought to you by the Wattle Nest. My name is Rachel Condos-Fields and I'm super excited to introduce you to more of Australia's great sporting talent so we can share their stories and embrace the power of sport as a true connector in our community. Joining me today at the desk again is Australian track and field athlete and For the Glory co-host, Nana Awasu. Welcome back, Nana.
Hi, Rachel. Thank you for having me. I have a dear friend with us on the desk today, so I'm very excited to speak to her.
As our audience is gathering, Nana's got a lot of dear friends and we have another one here with us today. I am super delighted to introduce you to one of Australia's youngest Winter Olympians, Britt Cox. Welcome, Britt.
Thank you so much, Rachel. I am so excited to be here and I was really just honoured that you asked me to come and chat with you guys because everything about this series is in alignment with my values, so there was no way I was going to miss it.
We are delighted to have you on board and can't wait to be part of your journey.
You're a snow baby, as you're from Falls Creek. Tell us how your journey of skiing started and why you chose this discipline of skiing.
Yeah, I guess it was a pretty unique upbringing growing up in the mountains in Australia, in Falls Creek. So my family ran an accommodation business on the mountain, so I was very lucky that enabled me to live and grow up in Falls Creek in that winter environment, and I actually got to go to primary school on the mountain. So for my older brother Hamish and I, our school sport was skiing, and basically every day after school we'd head straight out there onto the mountain and be skiing until the lifts closed. So the mountain was our backyard and our playground, and that was really my introduction to the sport. But through the school snow sports systems, the inter-schools competitions, that's how I started skiing competitively in all the different disciplines. So alpine skiing, cross-country, moguls. I dabbled in a little bit of snowboarding, but I stuck to the two planks. And mogul skiing, I think, was just the one that I fell in love with because, first of all, it was what my older brother did, and I was always chasing him around the mountain, wanted to do what he did. But also just I loved the element of excitement in mogul skiing, the adrenaline. There's so much variety. There's the element of turns technique, the jumping, the excitement of the jumping, and then the speed. And then I think what I love the most about mogul skiing is the ability to put all those things together in a package and perform on demand. And from my first ever mogul competition as an 8-year-old, I was just hooked. I loved that. I loved that adrenaline. I loved being in the start gate. And I have memories of my brother standing there on the side coaching me as I did lap after lap on the mogul course. And so that's how I got hooked on the sport.
Rachel introduced you as one of the youngest people to compete at the Winter Olympics. How did you find being an elite athlete at such a young age and just the pressures of being a teenager at the same time?
Yeah, I guess it was pretty wild. So I made the national development team at, I think it was 14. The next season I had the opportunity to compete in my first ever World Cup competition, and I was just stoked to be there all of a sudden competing on the World Cup circuit alongside my absolute idols in the sport. I remember riding the chairlift with Shannon Barkey and Gilbo Collas, and I was just like, oh my goodness, I'm on the chairlift with these people that I've looked up to since I was little, and I was competing there against them. And little did I know that was actually the last qualifying event before the Vancouver Olympics in 2010, and Australia needed a top 30 result to qualify a woman into the Vancouver Olympics, and I placed 29th, and that was just enough for me to squeak in there and get a spot at Vancouver. So 3 weeks later, I'm on a plane on the way to the Olympics to compete in my first ever games. So it was a bit of a whirlwind experience, but I think because it happened so last minute and so quick, I didn't have time to think about the magnitude of the event. I was just like thrown into the deep end and thinking, all right, it's just another competition, let's go. And I was chomping at the bit to just soak up every bit of the experience that I could. And I think that provided a lot of fire in the belly moving forward for the rest of my career.
Good on you, Britt. Now we know with athletes, injury is part of the unluck and the unfortunate side of things. From memory, you experienced a pretty awful accident back in 2019. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that and what it takes to bounce back?
Yeah, so back in 2019, I was competing on the World Cup circuit. So I just started working with a new coach, my coach for the last 4 years, Kate Blamey, and we competed in Finland, the first World Cup of the season, managed to get back on the podium, which was a lot of fun, in third place. So I started off the season well, and then we headed from Finland straight over to China, very close to where the Olympic venue was going to be for 2022 actually, and competing in the World Cup there. During the competition, pushed out of the start gate into the top jump, did my usual 360, but just kind of landed in a different spot to where I was landing in training, and there happened to be a chunk of snow right in front of my skis. So I went over the, as we call it, over the handlebars, a little bit like bike riding. My head and chest went face first into the snow of the first mogul. I knocked myself unconscious and then slid head first for 70 metres, hitting every single mogul with my head on the way down. So it resulted in a broken clavicle, so fractured the collarbone and 6 ribs, as well as a pretty nasty concussion. But thankfully, I was unconscious for the whole thing, so I don't actually remember it. I woke up, I sort of came to woke up in a hospital in China, where none of the doctors or nurses spoke English. They did some scans and figured out the extent of my injuries, and I had to stay in China for a few days extra before it was safe for me to fly home, just because of my lungs. And luckily my coach Kate at the time, she stayed with me there in China until we were able to fly back home, where I had surgery and had everything put back in place, had a plate put in my collarbone, which was there for 3 months. Once that was removed, I was kind of back to being able to ski again, and that was right when the first lockdown happened in the start of 2020.
I knew it was that serious, but I didn't know it was that serious, but I knew it was bad. So, wow. How do you bounce back from that? Do you lose a bit of confidence, or do you go straight back to the slopes fearless?
Well, I wouldn't say that I don't think it actually affected my confidence too much, partly because I don't remember the crash. So I find that absolutely fascinating how the human body can do that. It's basically protecting me from what happened. So I don't remember it. So I guess that sort of took out a little bit of the fear. But also just the work that I'd done prior to that throughout my entire career on mental skills and mental performance, I think gave me some confidence when I did eventually get back onto my skis, and just sort of used all those tips and tricks and tools that I'd learned throughout my entire career to better my performance as a skier, but just put them in place in terms of my rehab and recovery, and then return back to snow. And I think one of the key things was focusing on what my goals were, and then the process to achieve them, and breaking it down into achievable goals and what was within my control as opposed to what I couldn't control. And by doing that, it sort of allowed me to, I guess, fill my mind up with the things that I was focusing on, what I wanted to do, rather than the potential what ifs or what could happen, or thinking about the crash that occurred back in 2019.
You were lucky enough to have the ski in your backyard, and you've been to Olympic Games, World Champs. I don't even think I have enough fingers to count how many competitions you've been at. What would you give future skiers who want to have a career just like you? What advice would you give them?
I think the advice I would give, not just future skiers, but anyone that's aspiring to achieve success in their chosen sport, or anything really, whether that be music, academics, the arts, whatever it is, I think get really clear on what your goals are. And then sort of what I was alluding to earlier is focusing on what you can control rather than what you can't. I think it's very easy to slip into this mindset of like, if only I had better support, or if I lived in a different place, or that kind of thing, rather than focusing on, okay, these are the cards that I've been dealt and what can I do with them now. And I think that was something that I really learnt throughout COVID, was there's so much that was out of our control, but focusing on that wasn't actually going to help me achieve my goals, rather than going, what can I do, what can I work on towards achieving my goals at any given moment, and being, I guess, being able to adapt to those circumstances to get everything I can out of myself. So that's probably the best piece of advice that I could offer. But also just to always remember to take a moment to enjoy the process and the present moment. I think that's probably the biggest lesson I had out of my career was, and it sounds cliche, but it is about the journey, because I got to the end of my career, retired not that long ago, and there are just so many incredible memories along the way that I will cherish for the rest of my life, and the lessons that I've learnt that I'm going to use for moving forward in whatever it is that I do in the future. But just, I'm so grateful for the journey that I had, and I just think of moments where I stood up in the start gate looking out over the mountains, and I just thought, wow, I'm so lucky to be here and to be doing this. And for me, like, that was my happy place. So any advice to any athlete is be grateful for the journey.
A lot of your words resonate with me, being an athlete as well. You just recently stated that you have retired, and I remember talking to you when you were thinking about it. Should I continue for the next World Champs? How has the transition been?
Yeah, I think the decision to retire was absolutely terrifying. I think because this has been, or being an athlete has been my life and a massive part of my identity since I was that young kid skiing around the mountain at Falls Creek. And, so much of my life was tied up around my performance and what I was focused on. And it was always sort of looking towards what's the next goal, what's the next competition. So the decision itself was really scary, and I wasn't entirely clear on what I was going to do next. But throughout my mogul skiing career, I've been studying. I'm really passionate about storytelling, and basically what this whole series is about, telling the story behind the athlete and learning about the person behind the athlete. And so I studied Bachelor of Communications through Griffith University, majored in PR and journalism, and starting to, I guess, dip the toe in the water with some of that stuff. And I've just taken the opportunity this year to work in that space and just get some experience and figure out exactly what I want to hone in on. But yeah, retiring has been both challenging and exciting. It's sort of like leaving behind this life that I absolutely loved, but also feeling really excited about what's to come in the future. So mixed emotions, but I am really excited about what we're doing moving forward.
Well, I want to say congratulations on your career, and I'm so excited for what the journey you have to encounter and your new beginnings off the ski slopes.
Thank you, Nana. Thanks.
And I feel like your future's only just begun. You've done such amazing things in such a short period of time, and I'm going to go home feeling like a real underachiever tonight. But well done and congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
You're incredible. You've been lucky enough, as you mentioned, to do some production work with the Big Bash and transitioning into life post-retirement. What skills has sport taught you that's helped you with that transition?
Well, I guess for me, the main reason I wanted to become a professional athlete from the very beginning was I actually watched Elisa Camplin at the 2002 Olympics in Salt Lake City, where she won the gold medal in aerial skiing, and that was a really inspirational moment for me. I was watching Elisa, and not just the skill that she had as an aerial skier, but how she carried herself. And I think if I look at it, she had such an impact on me to want to be the best I possibly could at something. I didn't really know at the time what it was that I wanted to do, but I just wanted to push myself and see what I was capable of. So I really looked back on that last 4 years of my career and thought, well, that's, I just saw the impact that she had on me, and I felt like I wanted to have that same sort of impact on other people. And so in the last 4 years of my career, I really committed myself to being the best possible role model I could in my sport, leading by example, supporting my teammates, and just encouraging others to chase after their dreams. That's been a really important value of mine. And I think there are so many opportunities to do that in sport media, and that's why I love what you guys are doing here, because you're telling the story behind the athlete, which is not only helping that athlete, but it's inspiring others. And I think there are so many positive messages that sport has to offer that we can teach young people and young kids in Australia. So that's something that I hope to bring to my future career in broadcast media, but lucky to have had the opportunity to work on the Commonwealth Games with Seven's digital team, as well as working on the Big Bash, so the cricket this summer, which is completely different to winter sports, but really nice to have that variety and to challenge myself and learn new things.
Just marvellous, Britt. Well done, and thank you for your words of encouragement and support. And I'm glad you're getting a little bit of sunshine in your life too, as well. So make the most of it. Before we wrap up, we could talk to you all day because we've only just scratched the surface. But Nana likes to end with 2 sport trivia questions for our guests, just to test your knowledge.
Love this.
So let's go, Nana.
I have 2 questions for you. My first one is, how many players in a baseball team?
Ooh, players in a baseball team, I'm going to say 13.
Close, it's 9.
9, okay.
That's not close.
Hey.
Close enough, I should have said.
I was like, I know it's not the same as cricket, but is it more, is it less?
A little bit less than cricket.
Yeah.
And which country won the World Cup in 2018?
2018.
Which sport are we talking?
Yeah, which
Soccer.
World Cup?
Soccer, sorry.
Okay.
They were in the final in this one, but they did not win.
France.
Oh, wait, maybe
France?
they did win.
Argentina.
No, it's France. So
It's
you
France.
were right. I got my facts wrong.
You should always go with your first
Yeah, I should. I should have backed myself.
We've run out of time today, but thank you, Britt, for joining Nana and I in studio. And I've got a feeling Australia's going to be seeing a lot more of you. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Rach and Nana. What you guys are doing is awesome, and I can't wait to see all the other episodes.
No, thank you for coming. I felt myself smiling as you were speaking because you're such an inspiration and a role model, and I can't wait to see you on the TV screen.
Right back at you.
Well, everyone, that concludes this episode of For the Glory. Please be sure to tune in next time as we continue to share some amazing stories from our elite athlete world. Until next time, guys, thank you.